Hey guys, Mike here with Jeep's On The Run, and today we're going to talk about flat towing your 4xe, or any Wrangler for that matter, behind your RV. 4xe specific, let's talk for a second. You'll see people on the internet talking about using the regenerative braking to charge the battery while it's being towed behind the RV. Horrible, false information, would cause a ton of damage. Your transfer case always needs to be in neutral, and your transmission always needs to be in park while you're towing. Few things that happen. You will not gain any miles on the vehicle while it's being towed behind the RV, and it disconnects the transfer case from the tires. So the regenerative braking system that's all in there happens after that, so it's completely disconnected. If you were to try and do something differently, you would cause severe damage to the vehicle. So always check your owner's manual if you're unsure, but that is very, very bad advice. Now, there's many ways you can set up your JL or JK, for that matter, to be towed behind an RV. This Jeeps specifically, you don't want to use on a tow dolly. They are not designed to be on a tow dolly. So you got two options with the Wrangler: is flat tow it on all four, or put it up on a trailer. These vehicles are great to be flat towed, super easy. My 9-year-old son can hook it up behind my RV in under 9 minutes, or under 5 minutes. Today we're going to be installing the CoolTech wire harness. I've got the Maximus 3 tow loops. We're going to show you how we installed those. We're going to show you how to install this, and we're going to show you how we set up this JL to be towed behind an RV. Now, this is a 4xe. This will apply to pretty much any JL. The JKs are a little bit different. The wire harness is a little bit different. There's some other differences in how these brakes get wired up. The other thing you should keep in mind is you do want to have a braking system. I'll show you what I use and why I chose it, but you do want to have a braking system. It is the law, and I believe it's about 48 of the 50 states. Just go ahead and get one. You're going to want to have one anyway. Safer ride. So we'll dive in. We'll show you how to hook up. We'll go into all the details. There'll be multiple videos. We'll put links in this one, and we'll show you all the details of how to tow a JL or Wrangler behind your RV. Happy camping.
Okay, so I've got the switch mounted. You literally just can go ahead and loosen that T45, slide the bracket under there, put the bolt back in, switch mounts right there. If you look closely under there, I've got the rubber gasket with the wire coming down under the Jeep. This side's going to stay up here. We'll show you how to wire this in here in a minute. We'll show you how to make that real nice. I'm going to show you how I routed the wires underneath the vehicle. So under the Jeep, you can't see it, but just inside here is where it comes out from the floorboard. Right at the top of the frame here, there's a hole that'll actually feed right to the center of the frame. So I drop my wire into the hole, into the center of the frame, and it goes all the way up right inside the frame, and I'll show you where it comes out. So I run all the way inside that frame rail, and I come out right here. So that's going to be the wires that I'm going to connect to my plug in the front of the Jeep. The advantage of coming through the frame, or a couple things, is there's a lot of areas in here that are hot, exhaust, engine, cooling hoses, etc. So by doing this, you can really eliminate any of the hot parts, and it gives you a nice clean install. No one's going to ever see this wire when you're done. So we'll show you how we connect it to the plug up front. So now that we have all of our wires up front here for the turn signals and brake lights, and we're going to attach those to the plug in a moment, what we want to install next is our towed battery charger. And what this does is this is going to charge the battery system while it's being towed by the RV, because the braking system we're going to use uses this vehicle's battery in order to power the brake system. So on a long trip, you want to make sure this battery is being charged, so when you get to your destination, you've got a full battery. So this is pretty straightforward. You're going to have a positive and negative that are going to go to your battery, and then this line is going to go down to the cluster of wires up front to the plug that's going to go to the RV, and that will have to have a hot power lead from your RV on your 7-pin connection. So when this is plugged into the RV, it will always be charging this battery as you're rolling down the road. So we're going to install this towed battery charger right here. We're going to zip tie it in real nice, right here against the firewall, or against the fender, I should say. Now, one thing I should mention, when you go to install this, you'll have open threads here.
You want to install any of your accessories under these threads. Don't take off an existing nut. These nuts actually are cone shaped, and as you tighten them down, some of them anyway, they actually tighten up the battery terminals. So if you put this underneath that cone shaped nut, you'll actually have a loose connection and a loose battery. So you're always going to want to tap into one of those existing threads, which generally are 10mm nuts. So just grab yourself a couple 10mm nuts, and that's where you're going to want to attach this charger to. Mounted the charger right here next to the battery. I actually decided to use some Gorilla Tape just right to this little plastic cover. Worked out great. Ran the positive wire up here. It's not connected yet. I'm going to wait till I'm done. Ran the positive wire up here. It's not connected yet. I'm going to wait till I'm done. Came across here, negative. Again, I got to get a nut on there rather. Wire comes across here, comes over, and then I've got it loomed up in some real nice, I like this stuff. It's like a nylon loom. Everything looks very professional when it's done. So I'm going to coil that here because I'm going to end up taking this grill off to do it right and route it in real nice. So next we're going to show you the breakaway switch that we're going to install for my RVI brake system. Because at the end of the day, all my wires are going to go to the front, so that's going to be my last thing. I'll tie all the wires down in the front on the bumper for the connections. So here's where I'm installing my breakaway switch, and when it's all done, I'll show you exactly how that's going to work out. But the wire is going to go up through there. We got it coming up here. It's going to go behind the grill, behind the headlight. I got it routed back up here. And at the end of this, there's a plug. If you look, it's hard to see, but if you look down in there, right against the firewall, there's a black plug. You can pop it out. It might even be easier to pop out from the inside. And we're going to drill a small hole through it. I'll show that in a minute. The battery charger's been installed. The wire comes around here. You can see it just right there. We're behind the headlight. I came down right here with the fog light harness, and I've landed up front. So the grill had to come off to make the wiring nice. I'm going to put the grill back on and I'll show you a couple tricks. So the grill is actually very easy to remove. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 clips. So those will basically just push in. If you've got an older JK, even an older JL, I've seen where these rust. And a lot of times what you have to do is you have to pivot the grill out a little bit, get a screwdriver in there and to kind of pry them free. If you've got a camera up front, such as this one does, you'll want to be sure to make sure you get all your connections on. So you're going to have your washer fluid connection for your camera, and then we'll also have the coax connection down here for the camera. So once all your connections are made, go ahead and line up your pins right in the slots. Make sure you get these clipped back on for the hose. And what I always do is I always start from the middle, right in the bottom. You'll push in, and you'll hear them click. Don't forget these ones on the outside. So you'll hear all those click in. Then you'll come up to the top, and you've got about 8 or 9 of these. Now, when you remove these, I'll show you how to remove them. Easy. This is really your friend, this kind of panel tool. You can use a regular screwdriver, but what you want to do is you want to get the center up. And if that metal comes out, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. And then what you want to do is get the rest of it up. So when you go back to install it, if the middle did come out, not a problem. Push it back in. So that's how easy it is to take the grill off. And then we're all done. No signs of wires. So if we look in here, right in there is that plug we were talking about. Now again, this is a 4xe, so I've got this big orange charging cord. And then that's where we're going to silicone it up. But that's where the plug is. To give you a reference there, right against the back corner. And then it comes in here, under there. And what I'll do is I'll tuck it in here besides this door panel, and that's where I'll hide it and this will plug directly into my RVI system.
We're inside the Jeep, and we've got this panel removed, and I'm going to show you a couple pointers on removing this panel. If you notice, all these clips, they all point the same direction, except for the cap. So you're going to come in here, and you're going to take everything apart as if you were going to take your doors off. You need to untake your wiring harness off for the door, unhook it from the hook. This you'll need to pull off from the panel, so that's a little different than if you're going to take your doors off. Just pulls out. Again, I use a panel tool so not to break the clips. There's one 10mm bolt that gets removed from right here, so that'll come off. And then when you pull the panel off, you're going to pull it off. Everything gets pulled towards the driver's side. You don't want to pull up. Pull it towards the driver's side, including this clip here. If you pull up, you'll break it, so pull it towards the driver's side. Once this panel's off, you're going to have another panel that looks like this on here. You're going to go ahead and unclip it. It just clips in with these about half dozen clips here. There's one more under this side. I was able to sneak it out without removing this whole panel off from the A-pillar, so that's not too bad. And then the next part you're going to do is your whole harness is going to be wrapped in this cloth electrical tape. So what you're going to do is, I carefully took a razor blade right here, really carefully, because some of these wires are very thin, and I just started it. Once I started it, I was able literally just to unwind this section and expose the wires. So now we're going to start digging for the wires we need. I'm going to show you how to test them, and we're going to show you how to connect them. So I've located my wires. I've got green, yellow, I've got white and gray, and I've got white and orange. So those, according to the manual, are your functions. Now I want to test them. So I've got my test light here. I've got it connected to a nice clean ground. I'm going to go ahead and probe it. I'm on my right signal, which is green, and I'm getting a flashing light. Obviously, if you're going to test the other ones, you're going to have your left signal is going to flash, but your brake lights and your marker lights, the light should be solid. So go ahead and test all the wires you need, and those are the ones we're going to tap into. Okay, so here's a tip. Your smaller wires from the harness are going to go towards the back of the vehicle. The heavier gauge wires are going to be the wires that you cut go towards the front of the vehicle. Now, like I was telling you before, I pulled this harness out of an older JL, and I was reinstalling it here without the use of my directions. So I was thinking, oh, I remember this. I remember how to do this from 3 years ago. So pro tip, you are going to see, if you have a trailer harness, trailer tow package on your JL, you're going to see two sets of green and yellow in this main harness. So when you do your tests, you want to make sure you pull the fuses for your left and right trailer tow package under the hood. If you don't, what's going to happen is you're going to probe this yellow, and they're both going to show up as a left turn signal. Now, in order to confirm this, when you cut your left or right turn signal wire, you want to confirm that the light on the tail light does not blink. So save yourself a headache. Shout out to CoolTech. I gave them a call. I was frustrated. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? They instantly knew what was up and helped me out. So awesome. Hats off to them. Thank you. But yeah, very straightforward. Otherwise, these smaller wires go towards the back, heavier gauge towards the front. Remember, here I've got repairs now, but remember, if you've got a tow package, you're going to have two sets of these greens. So keep that in mind. So either pull the fuse when you do your testing with your test light. So we're going to test this stuff up front. We'll show you what we got. So here's where I'm putting my plug up front. So I've got this is for my battery charger. This is for my tail lights. I've got right, left signals, and then I've got a ground. And then all this is nicely wound up, and it's going to go up into the vehicle. So I've got this nice tester here. We're going to put this on tail lights, and we're going to go to the back. We're going to make sure our switch is on Jeep. We're going to check it out. All right, so I've got my switch on tow. I know I misspoke on the last one, so we are going to run our test from that box. All right, so we're on tail lights, right? All right, Charlie, go left signal. So he's toggling through the switches. That's why it freaked out like that. Do right signal. Now do brakes.
And there you go. Now, leave it on brakes. We're gonna flip this back to Jeep. And nothing should work back here because now you're back reconnected to the Jeep's main harness. Now the other thing I'm gonna show you. All right, shall I put that on 12 volt accessory, I think it was called? 12 volt power? There you go. So I've got my battery charger. When it's getting 12 volt power from the RV, it's going to charge this battery, which again, I need to come back and put my terminals on. Here's my fuse for the trailer tow. I'm going to put that back in, and we should be all set. But very simple install. The key here is definitely to follow your instructions. Don't do what I do and lose your instructions and then think you remembered it all. So I'm gonna wrap this up real nice. I've got some nice Tessa tape. We're gonna make this look factory, and I'll show you when I'm done. So we've got everything all wrapped up nice. Looks like factory, can't tell. I'm gonna make this nice, come out of the carpet. And the only thing when you're done, you're gonna have this little switch here. So now, if you forget to flip this switch back to Jeep and you start driving around, you're likely gonna get an error message on the dash that says you've got burnt out taillights. Then what you're going to do is go ahead and flip it back. Flip it back to Jeep, and then you'll be set. It may take a few minutes for the computer to recognize it, but that's pretty much the worst case scenario. I kind of actually like when that happens because if you ever forget it, kind of gentle reminder. I grounded the ground right here with the factory ground, and then this, which I'm not using, I just tucked in here. Some braking systems require a brake sensor or a brake light signal when the brake's being depressed, so that'll give you that. So that's a super nice integration with this CoolTech setup. So my RVI system doesn't require it, so I'm just going to tuck it in there for further use. This I'm going to throw in my glove box or throw in somewhere because if I ever sell this Jeep, I'll put this back in and everything's back to factory, just like I did on my last jail when I removed this CoolTech harness. All my connections, I use these butt connectors. They are real nice. I use the proper tool to crimp them, a ratchet style crimper, and then you can heat these up and they're completely waterproof. So I highly recommend having a few extras of these if you screw up like I did. And this is the tape I use. It's called Tessa tape. I'm sure there's different brands, but it's like it's fuzzy, it's cloth style. And here, that's factory, and that's mine. I mean, you can't tell. So makes the job look factory, looks nice, fit, finished when you're all done, and do it right. So we'll show you in another video on how we connect everything to the RV, but it's pretty straightforward, guys. But I would highly recommend follow those directions along and pay attention because it'll save you some headaches. And that's what it looks like when you're all complete. Put it on Jeep when you're ready to drive normally. Never know we're ever in here. Very slick, very easy setup. So we walked you through the installation of the CoolTech wire harness. You saw my hurdles. Had I paid attention to the directions or remember what I did 3 years ago, that'd been easier. But so a couple of tips there. So my hookup, my concoction, whatever you want to call it, my setup for towing my JL, and this is 4xe or not, behind an RV consists of the Maximus 3 tow loops, the CoolTech wire harness, RVI braking system, as well as an RVI battery charger, which charges the battery as you're going down the road. The reason I like that, a couple things. I know I'm the type of person that probably won't keep a vehicle forever. Perfect example, I've already moved from one jail to a next. This is literally, this works wirelessly, remotely. I'll get into this setup in a little bit. You plug it in, you put it in the vehicle. This can be transferred to another vehicle pretty much without removing anything. That's why I love this. It's small, it's easy, it fits in the back compartment under the floor, stays in the Jeep. Love the RVI 3. 2 thumbs up for that. This is my connection to go from the vehicle to the RV, 7-pin plug. When this is feeding from the RV, it's charging my battery. It's giving me turn signals, brake lights, a whole 9 yards, as long as that switch is on tow versus Jeep. When I'm done, you can't see anything. Even this can come out. So this is my breakaway switch. God forbid the Jeep would break away from the RV. When this pulls out, that will automatically initiate the RVI brakes to give it full braking and stop the Jeep. Now, I like it here because it's clean. When you're done, You just have 2 hooks here, and I don't even have to have that in there, and you really see nothing. Nothing hangs below the bumper. It's not gaudy. The Blue Ox tow bars, or any of the other tow bars for that matter, they're very ugly. They look like a big receiver hitch across the whole front of the Jeep. Now, we're not big off-roaders. We use our Jeep for other things, admittedly, however you want to take that. For us, the ground clearance of that bar isn't so much of a big deal, but if you are into wheeling, it's something to consider if you're going to have a big, big bar across here. For me, it's more of a looks thing. I don't think it looks good. In the grand scheme of things, too, setting it up this way is maybe a little more difficult just because of you got to do some trimming and various things. But at the end of the day, I think it looks way better. And it's not much more expensive. It may actually be even cheaper. There are a couple other things you have to purchase to put on the end of your Blue Ox tow bar, or any tow bar for that matter. And we'll get into that in a little bit, or in a different video, I should say. But this setup I like. It's very clean. It looks good, and no one knows it's a towed vehicle when it's not being dragged behind the RV. Just nice, clean setup. One comment I get from this is, well, it's not straight out. It's kind of angled down a little bit. I've done many, many tests from this, pulling this straight out with the actual rip cord, if you will. Functions beautifully, looks great, and you can't see it at all. It just drilled a small hole in this lower fascia. So it's really clean, and it does function just fine. So as always, please like, subscribe, and check out my next video. We will show you how to actually connect everything to your RV. I'll show you some tips and tricks as far as connection to the RV. My 9-year-old son can have this Jeep connected to the RV in under 5 minutes, so I know you can do it. As always, thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe. Thanks.